they say, out with the old, in with the new. Got our spot cleaned up, got another one out there to work on. We got a 2008, I believe, Jeep Compass. The guy told me that when he drives it and he takes off, gets over like 8 or 10 miles an hour, his ABS light and ESP light comes on, or traction control light comes on. Wants to know what it is, so I told him we can have a look at it and see if we can get her fixed up. So I grabbed the Alto because it was out. I had it on the charger. Had an update come out on it, so I was updating it. Make sure it was charged, so we'll just use that. See if I can find the data link connector here without having to get out. Come on, baby, you gotta be on here somewhere. There she is. Maybe it'd been faster if I got out. Alright, we're lit up. Guess what we can do. Fire it up. Let's see what's on right now. ABS, ESP, 4-wheel drive, TPMS, seatbelt. We got a couple lights on. Fantastic. Let's get the info entered here while she's warming up. I'll show you guys where we're at. We got 99,000 on it. All those, you know, it might just be in 4-wheel drive. It's okay. Never mind on the 4-wheel drive part. I remember when he dropped it off, it was snowing real heavily. So TPMS, that may be just a soft tire. Well, we'll focus on the ABS here. We'll get the let it read the VIN, get all that info entered here. See what codes it has in it. There's probably a wheel speed sensor, I imagine, if it's, you know, comes on supposedly when you're driving it. We're just going to go right to ABS. Won't bother doing an auto scan, it takes a little too long. Well, we got one code stored, a C1044 right rear tone wheel performance. Okay, so let's just look at some data, I guess, just to keep it simple. Okay, we'll look at all of our wheel speed sensors. We'll show those. I'll get them all popped up into graphs here. Just trying to change our y-axis to something a little more realistic here. So that's 0 to 50 miles an hour. Let's see if I can get them all up here at the same time. Okay, this right rear, that's the one that it said it was having an issue with. Let me see if I can get you guys where you can see this a little better. Alright, here we go. Let's see what happens. Gotta love that sound. Brakes around here, they flash rust very, very quickly. That's why the first time you step on your brakes after leaving it sit for a couple hours, it sounds like metal against metal. Looks like we got some dropouts there on the right rear. I put on my seatbelt so the stupid thing will keep dinging at us. Yeah, that right rear seems kind of glitchy there, doesn't it? Oh, now we gotta wait for the train. We're waiting for that train to go by. Let's just look at this right rear. This is the one that seems to be the major issue here. switch right there. Yeah, it definitely looks like it's got some dropouts there, because obviously we're going at a steady speed. So let me pull over here. We'll do kind of one neat feature. Whoa, that's not the neat feature. Let me see here. Let me try to see if I can figure this out real quick. You can actually merge graphs with this thing. So what we could do, for example, oops. Now I did it. Now I broke it. Got this multi-function button. I've been meaning to turn that thing off. So we can shrink down our graph here. We'll go back to show all. And we will just do the right rear. See if we can get vehicle speed. See if they got that somewhere here. Engine speed. Vehicle speed. Then we'll put graph merge. And then we'll just do show. We'll expand that. So our vehicle speed is going to be the green graph. Our right rear wheel speed is going to be the blue graph. And where are we at here? 0 to 318 miles an hour. I think we can chill that out a bit. Now they're not going to be, unfortunately, they're not going to be scaled the same, because our first bar here is 19.8 miles an hour and then 12.5 on the wheel speed. But you should be able to see that the green graph should be smooth and consistent. Well, our blue one, which is our speed sensor, assuming it still drops out, would be glitchy. Let's see, pull back out here without getting smashed into. Alright, here we go. So that way there, you know, I'm not, you know, slowing down, I guess, or you got something to compare it to what it ought to look like, I would assume. Yeah, definitely got something going all crazy there. We'll go back and give it a look. Maybe throw a scope on it, see what kind of speed sensor this has on it. I don't know if these are pulse generators or if they're, you know, what they are. We'll find out. Head back to the shop. We made it back to the shop here. Thought we could just reread the codes now that we've driven it. Yep, just that one at C1044. I say we just go right to that right rear wheel and see what's going on. Having a heck of a time with hood openers here today. But before we throw it up on a lift all the way, you probably ought to take a look and see what kind of speed sensor that is, to see if we're going to need to leave the key on or leave it in neutral or what the story is there. Wow, jeez. So I go up here, doors ring, phone ringing. Okay, let's try this again. This is take 4. So I got the printout on the wheel speed signals, and interesting enough, there's 2 different types of speed sensors actually used on these. So I'll just read to you what it says. And it says simply this, that there are 2 types of digital wheel speed sensors used on Chrysler products. Available service and technical information does not show which type is used on which model. Because of this, both types are listed in the information. You will need to check for which type you have to determine the correct test results. This may be accomplished by checking the signal from a known good sensor. It's a good thing we don't have 4 bad ones. Or do we? In a Type 1 sensor, the controller sends 12 volts to the sensor. Sensor has internal magneto resistance bridge that alters voltage and amperage of the circuit. Voltage and amperage is changed by magnetic induction when tooth tone wheel passes wheel speed sensor. A square wave digital signal that varies from 0.8 to 1.6 volts is sent to the controller. The controller measures voltage and amperage to detect wheel speed. Okay, so from the sounds of a Type 1, we've got 12 volts going to it. And on the signal wire, we're going to get our digital square wave from 0.8 to 1.6, and that's going to go to the controller. Sounds simple. In a type 2 sensor, the controller sends 12 volts to the sensor. The circuit is both the voltage supply and the signal wire. That's interesting. Yeah, in a type 2 sensor, the control sends 12 volts to the sensor. The circuit is both the voltage supply and the signal wire. The second wire is grounded through the controller. Sensor has internal magneto resistance bridge that alters voltage and amperage of the circuit. Voltage and amperage is changed by magnetic induction when tone wheel passes wheel speed sensor. The signal varies in two ways, voltage and amperage. The voltage will vary by 0.4 volts, so a very small amount, about 10.4 to 10.8 volts, and the amperage will vary between 7 milliamps and 14 milliamps, so 0.007 amps and 0.014 amps. The voltage can only be seen on the supply signal wire, but the amperage can be seen on both as a square wave pattern naturally. So that's pretty interesting. That one works on a very small scale, 0.4 volts, so just under a half a volt. And in order to read amperage like that, we'd have to run that through our meter to see that. We're not going to see that with an inductive probe. No way. Well, I guess we need to determine which wheel speed signal we have. Wheel speed type, a type 1 or a type 2 sensor. We've got our little pinout down here. It's just a 2-wire. So basically, we're going to have a 12 volt supply. I guess we can just determine which one we have. We're going to have a 12 volt supply on both of them. One of them is going to be a ground, one will be a signal return wire. Rear wheel speed sensor is mounted to each rear wheel. Each knuckle tone wheel is integral to the hub bearing assembly. Connector for rear wheel speed sensor is in the trunk. Okay, so it sounds like we have an external speed sensor. See, rear wheel sensor is mounted to each rear knuckle. Tone wheel is integral to the hub, so it must be an external speed sensor, and then the tone wheel on the hub. Fantastic. Well, let's take a look. Now we've got a little information. Sounds like we're definitely going to need a scope for this. There'll be no way to do this with a multimeter. But not looking for a glitch like this. I think the best tool of choice in this case is definitely going to be a oscilloscope. Our Panera will come in for the visual inspection. So there's our wheel speed sensor. And that thing is looking gross, actually. Oh yeah, she's looking pretty nasty. Must be, that speed sensor must extend like in behind that axle. The tone ring on the bearing, it says. Okay, let's see, our wire, where does that go? That goes up. Oh, I see. That little guy does go up into the trunk. Come over here on the passenger side, driver's side. Same thing. Where is that? Okay, that goes up in the trunk too. Okay. We got the same type of something here. A little different setup on the front. That one goes right into that knuckle. That goes around, goes up into the body, so. All right. Which side were we dealing with again? Anybody remember? I can't remember nothing. Was it right or left? I thought it was the right side. Right rear. Okay, so this passenger one. Well, let's set it down. We don't need it up in the air. We'll get up inside the trunk. Oh, that wire must be attached. Okay, so it's somewhere over by the strut tower. I just pulled the rubber plug out, and it does not allow us access to the plug, so we definitely need to get in the trunk. There we go. That's a 225. It's very tight for the car. Must be a Jeep thing. Well, there's the spare. Oh man, I hope this thing is someplace accessible. It's kind of silly if it wasn't. Well, I think that's it right there. Okay, well it's accessible. Passenger side's over here. Okay, no more whining. Let me show you guys where it's at. So this is the one on the right side. Looks like we've got a couple wires there. I don't know. Must be held in there. Yeah, it's held in with a little Christmas tree fastener. We'll see if we can gently persuade it out. Actually, red lock. Oops, we just set a code. I heard the little dinger go off. Well, that's good. That tells us that our wire integrity is probably good. Let's kill the light here. Let's see if we did set another code. There's the phone. Yep. Right rear wheel speed sensor circuit. So that's good. That's likely means our wiring is good. Right. So what we can do, because all of our tests are going to be done back probing here. Oh, crap. Oh yeah, I guess it's locked in. Just get this up where we can back probe. That's fantastic. Right where we need it. And I suppose we could just, I mean, this signal works half the time. We can just figure out which type we have here, a type 1 or a type 2. If we can't, then we'll go to a known good, but I think this will be good enough. Let me, I guess being we got the Autel, we'll grab the scope for the Autel. I'm not super happy with the Autel scope, especially on a signal like this. It may not work because we can't turn the peak detect feature off, so it picks up a lot of noise. Yeah, their scope really isn't that good. They told me they were going to update it, but you know, dealing with these Chinese companies are really difficult sometimes. They'll just tell you anything, you know. So, last I knew, they haven't come out with any update for it. They don't really advertise their scope anymore, so I assume they've kind of given up on it. That's just my assumption. I could be way off, but yeah, they were supposed to come out with an update, what, last October, something like that. I get these little trays at the dollar store. Gosh, I can't even seem to open the right one here. And you can just store all your electronics and goodies and stuff in there. At least that's what I do. It makes it kind of handy, you know, when you get accessories and back probes, you start getting all that stuff. But yeah, we'll get plugged in here. We'll get probed in. See what we got. Let's see. So I think theoretically, if we back probe this, we should see one of two things. You know, our sensor worked. Well, Josh over there with his Uzi again. Our sensor works, so keys on. We should see if we probe both wires, we should see a low voltage, that 0.8 to what did it say, 1.6, or we should see this higher voltage, the 10 point something volts, you know, that it was where it sends back the signal on the actual voltage wire. So that's what we'll do. We'll turn our scope on. Let's see, we're on channel 1, or channel A, I guess it is. Here it shows channel A, that's working. We're on a 0 to 20 volt scale. Yeah, that's as close as we're going to come, so we'll go 20 volts. DC. We'll talk about this back here. Alright, so I'm just going to take and back probe into our connector. Oh, we actually got the right polarity here. So there's the signal we're receiving right now. We're set at 1 second per division. We don't have a live data feed on this, so that's kind of a stinker. Well, I guess we could turn our measurement on, and then we can do like DC average. That's going to be as close. Let's see, it's going to have to go all the way across the screen. Yep. So it flashed, you know, when it came across the screen, 10.8 volts. Let's just see if I get a different. I wish it would show our actual live reading here. Yeah, all these are going to be averaged after they come across, so I guess we can't use any of them. But we can see where it is. We don't have any, I don't know if I can move any cursors here. Not super, there we go. So I'll put that cursor right where that's going. It appears, let me get an average here. About 10.7 volts is where that's coming. Let me get that paper. I think it said we were supposed to be somewhere in that neighborhood. All right, so it says here, so we must have what they consider a type 2 sensor. So we'll just read this again. A type 2 sensor, the controller, so ABS controller sends 12 volts to the sensor. The circuit is both a voltage supply and signal wire. The second wire is grounded through the controller. Sensor has internal magneto resistance bridge that alters voltage and amperage. We've already read that. On the signal circuit, voltage and amperage changed by magnetic induction when toothed tone wheel passes wheel speed sensor. The signal varies in two ways, voltage and amperage. The voltage will vary by about 0.4 volts, about 10.4 to 10.8, and we're at 10.7, so that's realistic. And amperage between 7 and 14 milliamps. The voltage change can only be seen on the supply signal wire. Amperage can be seen on both as a square waveform. So, with all that being said, what we can do, this works a lot different than the snap-on. We're going to slow this down. We're on 5 seconds per division. We're going to stop this. I'm going to spin the wheel, and then what we're going to do is go back in. We're going to zoom in on this. We're going to look at our pattern and see if we see any anomalies in there, any dropouts, glitches, which I assume we're gonna. We're just doing this for fun at this point, I think. Then maybe we can make a decision as far as what we're gonna need to do. All right, so we're gonna start it. I'm gonna go over here and spin the wheel by hand. Okay. Let's go like this. Let's go save. I can't remember how to use this. So it's this Jeep. And that is the right rear. Oops. Right rear. Suspect. Bad wheel speed sensor. Okay. I'm going to go there and we'll hit save. So now what we can do is go here, go review data. What's that? 05 Sport Track, 3 dead cylinders, same bank. Oh, I remember that one. We never did a video on that. That was a fun one. Okay. So we should be able to, there we go. There's our little pattern we were looking for. There's a glitch, and there's a glitch. There's a glitch. Okay, seems to be a little glitchy. Let's have a look. Okay, let's see, we should be able to, if we click on our voltage, should be able to change this where we can see this a little better detail. Of course, it's going to be a little hatchy. We can't turn the peak detect feature off on this scope, so we're going to have to deal with this a little bit. But I think you guys will get the gist. That there is a glitch. That's an open. It didn't pick up our wheel speed signal at that point. Our wheel didn't stop spinning. Okay. I don't know if we can. We'll move our cursors down. We'll get a peak. So where are we at here? So we're at 10.4 to 10.9 volts, and our paperwork says 10.4 to 10.8. So our voltage range appears to be within the realm there, and 10.4 to 10.9. Okay, so that seems realistic. There's another glitch there. I don't believe that we're losing our voltage supply, because otherwise we would see, if we're losing our voltage or our ground, we would see that anomaly here. This definitely appears to be a problem within the speed sensor. And just looking at them, just kind of eyeball those glitches where they're happening. They seem to be pretty systematic, a little bigger at times. So there's probably one bad spot in that tone ring or something that's giving us this little issue here, just at a glance. So, you know, that was kind of fun. So that's what that looks like. That's how to test your wheel speed sensor on a Type 2 wheel speed sensor on a Chrysler. Okay, so that's not too bad. I guess what we'll do, scopes seem to work okay. Just a little different, you know, you get used to using the Varus and then you bust this out, they work totally different, but probably shouldn't complain about it too much. But you try to use it to test an oxygen sensor or something, you just can't, you know, just too much hash. I wish you could turn the peak detect off, that'd be spectacular, but you can't, so that's what it is until they come out with some kind of update. I don't know if that's a software portion of the scope or if that has to be software hardware combo or what the story is, but I'm going to look into getting us some parts, you know, perhaps get a speed sensor and a bearing so we kind of have both things before we tear into this and see what the heck's going on here. All right, well, our friends at Napa came through. We got a new sensor here. This little guy right here. Here's what it looks like. So there's the sensor that was on the car that was looking all kinds of crusty. We should probably take a look under there and see what this snaps. If that thing's got to snap into something, man, we're in trouble because this thing was looking super rotted underneath. That's why I had them send up both items, because I don't know what we're gonna find. So we got a bearing here, an SKF bearing. Here. Okay. Well, here's our rear wheel bearing. All right. This must be where our sensor snaps into. Now this houses the magnet, I think. I need to find something non-magnetic. These magnetic? They're not. Yeah. So this has a magnetic tone ring. Yeah, that is definitely magnetic. All right. Oops. And that must be our speed sensor. It must slide into this bracket. Where's the end of this? So here's our speed sensor. I won't click it in just yet, but it appears that our speed sensor is going to click. You know, if we wiggle it right in there, it'll click into there and it'll lock into that notch, if you can kind of envision that. Well, just like that. I guess you can just, yeah, you can pop it right back out. Huh. And then, you know, the magnetic tone ring passes by our sensor, which is provided with 12 volts, which has, an internal magneto resistance bridge that alters the voltage. Huh? Sound pretty smart now, don't I? All I know is we probably got some funk going on back here, whether it is with this holder, whether it's with the sensor, the holder, the magnet on the back of the bearing. That is to be determined, but now that we have some parts here in our little paws, we can rip and tear like a bunch of angry gorillas and see what we're going to find out. We know our wave pattern is less than desirable. It seems to have something going on there, and I don't know if that's from an extended air gap. I'm not sure, but we are about to find out. So got a 14 millimeter here and a ratchet. We'll take and pull this whole brake caliper and bracket off. Hopefully right in one piece. Get that out of our way, and then we'll slide the rotor off. Let's see what it looks like to get to this bearing. I think that's the longest I've ever used a manual tool on this show. I like my air tools, what can I say? Oh my God. press a little bit here. Now we're gonna have to get a little screwdriver. It feels like it compressed, but it's got a little bit of rust. Grab my favorite pry bar / screwdriver. Make sure I got this thing compressed. There we go. We'll just set that right up out of the way. That slides off. Piece of cake. Okay. Oh man. We're gonna have to be careful. I don't know if we gotta pull this parking brake crap off to do that bearing or not. We might have clearance to sneak that bearing out of there once we get the bolts bolted on from the back side. I didn't get any parking brake hardware or anything like that. Start messing with this crap, and that's what's going to happen. At least here anyways. I think we'll try to fish it out. Of course, our backing plate should stay. Okay, so yeah, we might be in good shape. A lot of times you get like this kind of setup and you start smashing on these wheel bearings. You know, the whole backing plate comes loose. You know, it just turns into a disaster because, you know, everything starts falling apart. Stuff around here is crusty. You know, you guys get that at this point. We try to leave as much crust as we can because otherwise things tend to get kind of stupid. The reason I'm pulling the bearing is because we got to, you know, inspect the tone ring, which is going to be non-existent. That crusty metal crap we saw from the back where the speed sensor is, well, that's obviously, we know now, that's the cap that goes on this bearing. So ultimately, we're probably going to have changing the bearing, possibly the sensor. You know, I don't know if we can get this sensor out without, you know, destroying it. Sensor's pretty inexpensive. It might just get one for the sake of good measure. Yeah, it's such a part swapping thing right there, isn't it? So anyhow, this looks like it bolts on from the back. And those bolts look angry, like super angry. This should be educational and fun.